Welcome to Ripped, Rattle, and Rose podcast, a safe place to have authentic conversations on mental health, womanhood, sisterhood, and purpose. I'm your host, Rose, and I personally understand the difficulties in admitting that you're struggling mentally. I've also felt victim of believing that the quality of my womanhood was rooted in how much pain I could endure without complaining or asking for help. So join me on my quest to not just discuss, but normalize the importance of tending to our own mental health while liberating one another to be bold enough to not just narrate, but decide our own version of womanhood while acknowledging the need for sisterhood. My ultimate goal is to create an environment that promotes honesty, transparency, and a place to be real. So kick up your feet, join me weekly as I intimately disclose how, although ripped and rattled, I still chose to roast. Don't go anywhere. This starts now.
What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Ripped, Rattled, and Rose podcast. If you are new here, welcome. I hope that you're able to relate and that you want to come back and join us. We are a fun bunch. And if you are someone that listens on a regular basis, welcome back. Come on in here, take your shoes off, get comfortable. Don't start acting funny. You know how we do it. I am still elated that we're in season 2. I'm sure that will wear off. But as for now, I'm still just happy about that. And I'm just going to get right on in this episode. And it's like, it is necessary, or it was necessary. Like, when you hear that, what do you think of? Because it's such a blanket term. It can mean so many things. The dictionary says that necessary is required to be done or achieved. It's essential, like you need to do it. And I think many times that we've all experienced things in our life where we were like, yeah, that was not necessary, God. I could have really done without that one. And maybe it's true, but, a lot of times I feel like, God is being subtle and trying to get our attention. And when it falls on deaf ears, sometimes we have to experience things that are uncomfortable. And it's not a fun process. So my hope is that, especially, for myself and anybody else, that I get better at responding right away when God is saying something to me. So, actually, it's the betrayal was necessary, right? Because there has been so many different things that has transpired. And within the last 4 or 5 months, okay, let me see if I can explain it for you. My world, my life. Okay, you know how at the carnival, you're on a carousel, right? And it goes in a circle. And it's supposed to be slow, like you're supposed to be able to enjoy it and have fun, but not the carousel that I was on. It's like somebody went in the back and pumped that thing up to the 10th power, and it's going so fast, and I could just see the lights, and I don't know how fast this thing is going. I don't know how much faster it's going to go. I don't know when it's going to stop. I don't know if it's going to stop. The only thing that I can do is to hold on to the harness and just wait. And for me, that's difficult, I like to know what's going to happen because I just do. It makes me feel more comfortable. And in the midst of everything, there's all of these moving parts that I'm attempting to wrap my head around. And have you ever heard something about yourself that was so unlike you that you're like, what? I'm sorry. Huh? And somebody actually entertained that? I was livid. But after I got done being livid, I had to think, how many times have you yourself thought that you knew a person well enough to hear one side of the story and not even consider that there's another person that has experienced this and you haven't heard from them? How often? Many So while I wanted to be self-righteous and just live it, I had to be honest with myself. I'd done it and many times. Now moving forward, I am going to be more mindful of that. I can listen and I can hear, and understanding that I just know a little, so not be so quick to judge or have an opinion prematurely. I understand now better than ever how not allowing for that to happen can further traumatize and hurt somebody that's already been traumatized and hurt. And that's not something that I want to do. And I don't even think that we do it on purpose, honestly. I think that when we trust people, we believe that we can trust their words. And sometimes that's just not the truth. Proverbs 18:17 says, in a lawsuit, the first to speak seems right until someone comes forward and cross-examine. So I think a lot of times it's just easier the first thing that you hear, it's just easier to believe that. And, oh my goodness, I was so mad. And I was like, why? But then I had to ask myself, like, why do you take on so much? Like, why do you allow yourself to experience so much before you say something? And not to the people that I'm in a relationship with. If it's my family, if it's, somebody that I'm in a relationship, if it's a coworker, I'm always going to give the relationship the opportunity to be saved. I'm going to bring it to the person. I'm going to tell you what my issue is, and hopefully we can work through that. But not everybody has that method. And what I had to just, come to terms with, that oftentimes I'm trying to protect people that would push me in front of a truck that's going 1,000 miles per hour if given the opportunity. And although that's hurtful, when you find out somebody that you hold at high esteem, or that you respect the relationship enough to try to handle the situation in a tactful manner and, realize that you ain't worth a penny with a hole in it to them. It's hurtful, but once I know it, I can't unknow it. You know what I mean? So I had to be like, oh, goodness gracious, just like trying to wrap my head around all of it, because it was just so much. And it was like a tsunami of things all at once. And once I was able to kind of like take a step back and just like look at it, because there was just so many things going on, and I was able to think about the people that was drugged into this mess, and understand that those people did not mean me harm, that those people thought that they were doing a good thing, that they were actually trying to do a solid. When somebody is intentionally misleading and manipulative and deceptive and dishonest, I cannot hold other people at a higher standard for being deceived when I myself was deceived as well. So I was really glad that God let me see the hearts of the people. Because why? Because in the physical, what do I see? I hear the slander. I hear the gossip. I hear the lies. I'm privy to all of it. I'm seeing it all. And what's happening in the spiritual world? Satan is trying to wear me out. He is trying to make me doubt who I am in God. He is trying to harden my heart so that I don't love people. How can I be a good vessel with a hardened heart? I'm called to love people, and I do. I'm called to be a good vessel, and I will. And I'm not going to allow Satan or whoever has partnered with him to take that from me. I'm just not going to do it. Now, do I need to fine-tune discernment? Yes, that has been something that I have been talking to God on a very regular basis about, as far as my discernment. Because in the past, when those things would happen, I would make excuses for people. In the past, depending on how the relationship was, if you're somebody that shared DNA with me, then it's okay to treat me like that. And today, that's not okay. I do not wish to be in close relationships with people that don't honor me, don't necessarily like me, and talk about me like a dog behind my back. And it's okay if I'm not your cup of tea. I just don't know why we have to drag one another in the process of it. Like sometimes relationships change just because our paths are different. I don't think that warrants leaving the relationship with slander and gossip and being malicious. And even if the relationship ended in a negative way, I'm still, if I love you, even though I don't want to see you again or talk to you ever again, maybe some people, the parts of me that loved you is not going to allow me to behave like that, even if I feel like it was warranted. And because God knows that I declared war and I said I want my lick back and I'm not taking the high road. I've done that far too many times and I'm not. And God was like, no, you're not. I'm like, I'm sorry. Do you hear what's being said about me? He was like, yeah, I hear it. Okay, well, what are we going to do? He was like, we're not going to do anything. You're going to be still and you're going to let me handle it. And I'm like, I don't want to be still. I want my lick back and I'm getting it. And he was like, no, you won't. So I was, oh my goodness, I was trying my best to drown out the be still part. I'm like, no, sir, no ma'am, no ham, no turkey. I'm not going to be still. I ain't going to do it. So I couldn't drown those thoughts out. And on my podcast journey, I have met some really, really amazing women. It's been a blessing. And, the young lady who I'm speaking about right now, her name is Melanie. She also has a podcast. It's called Neva's Ministry. She has some really good scriptures on there that will bless you. And the way she delivers it, it's, kind of tell you how how to utilize them in your life in a practical way. And she has an organization, and I love the mission statement because it's geared towards women's mental, emotional, and spiritual healing. So shout out to Melanie and Neva's Ministry. So she had messaged me on Facebook, and we were going back and forth in the messages, and neither one of us were doing a tell-all about everything that's ever happened in our life. We were just more like, I think we were both elated that we had a lot of similarities, and we ended up having a phone conversation. And towards the end of the phone conversation, she gave me her social media and YouTube and podcast information, and I did the same. And then when I clicked on her Facebook page, her back picture in gold said, "Be still." And I wept. I did. I cried. And every time I think about it, I want to cry. And not sad tears at all. The tears, I feel like I should have had enough faith to just understand that I need to just hold tight, and that me trying to fight back on my own is making everything worse. But even still, God thought enough of me to send a subtle message through another woman that has a podcast and, want to do things of God. And it offered me so much peace. And I'm so grateful for it still, because it pointed me in the direction of getting better. You know what I mean? Because we're human. And when we allow our hearts to be mangled over and over again and not even necessarily allowing ourselves time to heal, that affects us mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I don't want to be suspicious of people. I don't really want to do that. That's never been something that I've had to do, and I don't want to take that on. The heart that God gave me, that is a blessing. It is a God-given gift to love people. It is a God-given gift to be able to pray for people genuinely that try to finish you, and not a generic prayer, a prayer that I really, really Pray to God that the things that are inside of you that make you mean and nasty towards people that try to love you, that's healed. Whoever made you feel unseen, whoever made you feel unheard, I pray that you get better. Because the way I see it is when one of us heal and one of us get better, the world gets better. So in terms of betrayal, the dictionary says that betrayal is a violation of a person's trust, confidence, or moral standards. So as far as I'm concerned, betrayal is anything that's deceptive. Any misinformation or misrepresentation of a thing, a place, or a person is manipulation. If I buy a car from you and you know when I get to the stop sign, this engine gonna blow up, and you sold me this car anyway, I feel betrayed. I trusted you enough to purchase from you, and you were not honest. And when you're not honest with people up front, you don't give them an opportunity to even know what they're walking into, to be able to judge earnestly if I'll even want this. Because if you would have been honest up front, I probably would have said, oh, yeah, no, thank you. That's not my thing. I don't. And then another thing that I read that I was like, wow. And it really, really hit home. And it says that betrayal represents a traumatic death. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense because it's not a physical death, like a person did not die, but there's a death of a relationship. Whether it be a friendship, family, job, marriage, whatever. When there is betrayal, there's parts of that relationship that dies because the trust is not there. Jesus, I can't. And Proverbs 16:28 said, a perverse person stirs up conflict and a gossip separates close friends. Listen, there were some moments where I had to make a decision. I had to be very, very intentional about not having certain conversation, not talking about or talking to certain things and people because I'm really, really trying to get better. I don't have anything else to say, in the matter. I am on my trail to do things that serve me well, as long as, what's good for my mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health. That is my focal point. I don't want to have any more conversations because I feel like people, to me, it's crazy what conversations are entertained. And then when you want to say, well, wait a minute, then everybody's like, well, you know what, just let it go. You gotta forgive and don't be bitter. I'm like, well, y'all, why were you entertaining the conversation in the first place? Like, if this was the stance that you was going to take, why wasn't this the energy the whole time? Nevertheless, okay. Like, it's fine though, it's okay. Like, it's okay for relationships to change. And I say that some betrayals are necessary or a blessing because it forced me, like, if I have to describe the season that I was in, that I'm coming out of, because when God told me to go stand in a corner, I went and stood in the corner, and I did not ask for a early termination. Although I still wanted my leg back, I was willing to stand in the corner, and I feel like I'm still in the corner. But once I really, really started praying for the person that started this nonsense, that is when God really would give me more information and like more clarity on the why behind the what, which offered me a great deal of peace. So like, if we think about, I was reading the book of Job, and Job was in a pickle. He was like, Job's health was bad. Job's, children were wiped out. Job, monetary values were gone. Job was by all means in distress, to say the very least. But Job said he had enough of his relationship with God. He trusted so well that he said, though he slay me, I'll trust him. So I'm like, okay, Job, me too. I'm gonna trust him too. And I say that you have to be mindful of the conversations that you have, because sometimes even like people that's super close to you, what they say to you in a moment when you're fragile can be detrimental. It was Job's wife who said, you may as well curse your God and die. And I would have like, you do it, sis. You go first. Don't be telling me to do nothing like that. What's the matter with you? It's rude. Crazy or something. Nevertheless, God deemed Job as a righteous man. And he actually allowed Satan to, do some things. And it was basically to test the heart of Job. When your money is funny, do you still trust and believe in me? When there is betrayal, when there is lies, when there is slander, when there is persecution, do you still trust in me when there's hardship? And I do. And whenever I find myself in a hard place or a hardship, I have to look back at my behavior and my choices, and not to be hard on myself, but because I don't want to continue to be a repeat offender over the same thing over and over. And I think in the past, I would just rush out of one season so that I can get to a next. And I'm not doing that anymore. Whatever it is that God wants to work out in me, I want him to do it. Whatever it is that he wants to extract from me, because I believe that God has to sanctify you, because he don't pour new wine in old wine skin. So sometimes you have to be willing to disengage from the world. Because if I had to describe this season of my life, it would be the wilderness. And it's a weird place to be in. Like you feel lonely and you're alone, but not because people are not inviting you out, but because you are in timeout because God put you there. And it seemed like everything changed all at once. It's like what was once enchanting to my eyes, not so enchanting anymore. What was once fun to me is not fun anymore. My palate even changed. What tastes good to me don't taste good anymore. So, and it's a hard place to be. And I can imagine not just for me, but people that's close to me, because I'm not talking to the people that I used to talk to on a regular basis anymore. I am in a place where I'm wanting to fine tune my ear so that I can hear from God accurately. Okay. And then I started thinking about Joseph. Oh, Joseph. Now, we know Joseph, right? Joseph the dreamer is what his brothers called him. And Joseph was a favorite young man. His dad had high esteem for him and, loved him. And Joseph had a dream, and he told his brothers about it and basically told them they was going to serve him. And they didn't take kindly to this. And the reality of it is, when somebody don't like you, or they're looking for reasons to discredit you or to have a negative opinion about you, child, they will believe anything. Everything that any and all things that you say can and will be held against you. So Joseph, he tells his brothers about this, and they're like, not on my watch, so they lure him out to, a field. That's what in my mind, I see a field, and basically rough the man up, tear his coat up, throw him in a hole, sell him off to slavery. And I believe in my heart of hearts that they wanted to kill him, but they couldn't, because God was going to use him. When God says, touch not my anointed, he means that. And I hope that offers somebody encouragement, because the weapons will form, but I promise you they will not prosper. I promise you. So don't worry. Everything is due season. Even when we're reaping the good things that we sow, when you sow in bad things, in due season, you will see your return. So, and that's why I say sometimes when I hear people say, well, family is always going to be family. Yes, family is always going to be family. And I believe that family should always be loved. But I believe that you also, it's okay to love some people from across the street, especially if you know up close and personal, they pose harm to you because they themselves are not healed enough to manage relationships in a healthy way. I don't feel like I owe it to anybody to be your punching bag, to be your welcome mat that you wipe your feet off of. No, thank you. I mean, it sounds very, very tempting, but it's a hard no for me. And it's in jealousy. Like, they threw that boy in that hole, sold him off to slavery. And okay, you don't like Joseph. What about your father? What about your dad? Did you think about how that would affect him? No, because jealousy and envy clouds your judgment. It clouds sound, rationale. You don't care who gets hurt in the process of you getting what you want, even if it's just attention. So we can't just be all willy-nilly talking about family is family. We're adults and we do need to treat people how we want to be treated. I mean, did Cain not kill Abel, his own brother, because God liked Abel's sacrifice better? I mean, like when we think of passions of crime, that starts with love, hate, jealousy, and there's rage. So we have to use discernment. You can love people and not be connected to them. Like I can love you to death and understand that I don't never want to be in the same room with you anymore unless God says that that's what he wants me to do, unless that's something that's safe. Like, no, I'm not going to, that's not my thing. I'm not going to do it. And then I even thought about Samson and Delilah. You know, because I believe that we always want to believe that people around us because they think that we're amazing and they think that we're smart. And that's not always the truth. Like some people are sent on a demonic agenda to learn your strengths and your weaknesses so that when they attack you, they do it well. They don't lose. How do you kill a lion without knowing where the lion gets his strength? Samson saw something that was beautiful to his eyes, right? He think he got a beautiful woman and everything that looked good ain't good for you. The longer I live, the more I realize that our grandparents and parents, those people had good sense, okay? College or no college. And when you hear some of the sayings that they would say, it makes sense. They had good sense. So she was sent by the Philistine Lord to figure out where Samson get his strength, because this man is a whole warrior. He is a beast. He is big in stature. I imagine that his thighs were like huge and, like Debo in a sense. Like if you saw him and they wanted you to fight, you'd be like, no, I'm not going to fight him. I'm not going to do it. Get somebody else. No, thank you. So she keeps asking him where he gets his strength from. What the Bible said? The Bible said that she wore his soul down by keep asking him the same thing over and over. And finally, he told her. And what did she do? She cut his hair. Sis cut his hair. And he's a whole warrior, and it literally took her only 3 times before he told her where he get his strength from. But the bigger thing is he didn't know that she was sent on a demonic agenda. When Satan sends people in your life, it is literally to steal, kill, and destroy. That does not always mean physically. They want to kill, steal, and destroy your ministry, your purpose, your destiny, your ideas, your life. And they want to do it in the infancy stages when you are developing. And that's why sometimes it just makes more sense to disengage. And anytime that God unctions you to go sit your behind down and spend some time with him, I recommend that you do it. One, it has been extremely beneficial to my mind, heart, body, and spirit. And two, I was doing too much. You everywhere. You too distracted. You all over the place. And although a lot of the things that I was doing was important, nothing is as important as my relationship with him. And when you put God on the back burner and put other things in front, he has a way of getting our attention. Okay. And because, Rose don't like to be disciplined, really badly, I try to adhere to it. Then I was looking at what are some of the things that come with betrayal trauma: intrusive thoughts, nightmares, flashbacks, avoidant behavior, hypervigilance, irritability and outbursts, insomnia, and social withdrawal. Basically, feel so betrayed that you crawl up into yourself and you let somebody blow your light out. And I'm going to go ahead and say it's a hard no for me. I mean, it's a very, very hard no. I'm really, really grateful though. I'm grateful for the people that I have in my life that, knows me for real and that they call me, and not just to hear my business and hoping like hell that when they speak to me that I'm miserable. One, that's never going to happen. I can have a bad moment, but I'm never, ever going to give Satan my mind and my heart. Like, no, I'm not going to be miserable. I am declaring total freedom from all forms of bondage. Once I was loose from them shackles, I'm not going back that direction. It's just not going to happen. But I've also realized that the detriment that comes in trying to hold on to people that does not have your best interest at hand. That, a lot of times we get so upset with how other people treat us. You know what I mean? Like, oh, why are they doing this? Why are we allowing it? How come when they showed us their hand, we turned our head? Why is it that when I heard that story don't make sense because you've changed it 3 or 4 times, don't I address that? Like, why do we do that? Because the end result is we're going to be hurt, and we're going to feel like we were victimized when in truth, you disregarded sound counsel. What you wanted was louder than what God was saying. And for me, clearly that was the case. So at this point, this time, I ain't failing this test. I am going to study for as long as I need to, okay? Because I feel like it is an honor and it is a blessing to be able to do anything for God. And when God gives you a purpose and the things that he put inside you to do, if he give you an assignment, you need to protect that. Like, you need to pull that thing close to you. You know how when you take tests, you put your hand right there so the person next to you that didn't study can't see your answers? That's what we need to do with the things that God has given us to steward over. Whatever that is, that's a precious thing. And what you have to understand is, if Satan knows that what God put inside of you is going to bless many, his whole agenda is to dismantle relationships that will point you in that direction. His whole objective is to perverse everything. I mean, Satan, the people in the world that has partnered with him, child, they act just like they daddy, okay? You know how how once you get saved and you have a true love for God, you're not going to ever, excel perfectly. But the idea, the desire is to mimic our Heavenly Father as much as we can. Child, that is the same with people that has partnered with Satan. And oftentimes we cannot see them because sometimes they have on, skirts and dresses, and they look appealing. Sometimes they have a very nice smile and they have a Bible in their hand and they're quoting scriptures. But please, let's not forget that Satan know that Bible too. Okay. And that's part of why I'm praying for more discernment and more wisdom as it relates to who to partner with in relationship. And I do mean every single form of a relationship, be it work, be it romantic, be it business. I want a head nod from God that this is good. Like, this is okay. This is going to bring him glory. This is going to make him proud. Now, the beauty is that all things will work for good for those who love him and is called to his purpose, but I think that it was necessary for me to look at me. It was because when I say I was combing over everything, every conversation, everything. And you know why? You know why you have to heal? Because Satan's entry point is always trauma. In this particular situation, I could not hear sound counsel. And you know why? Because I was hearing through the same ears that felt as if every decision that I've ever made is judged so harshly. And, all the rest of these things that has plagued me for years that I thought I had been, delivered from. But after I get in a pickle and, I start really looking back at things, everything that people that loved me and was close to me was concerned about, everything that they posed came to pass. And it takes humility to be like, you know what? You were right. Y'all was right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, y'all was right. For me, it's not as important to be right. Not right now, anyway. Because I don't just want to go through things. I want to grow through things, and I want to grow through them in such a way that I am better equipped to love God's people, but I'm also better equipped to realize a counterfeit when I see them. I think that I'm telling y'all, this is why I've never been a word for affirmation kind of person, because people will say anything out of their mouth if they believe that that's going to give them something that they want. And then those same lips that was talking about how beautiful you were, how smart, intelligent, and brilliant, that same little mouth will be doing all of the cursing and slander and lying. So, it's not a big deal. It's like it comes with the territory, but I do think that being vigilant and just on guard and guarding your heart is important. I do. Because I anytime you just keep finding yourself, where you just feel like your heart is compromised, you will recoil. You don't know who to trust when you first get betrayed. Like, every time somebody asks you a question, why? I'm sorry, what do you want to know for? What are you going to do with that information? Because is it necessary? But that's not who I am. And that ain't who I'm going to be. So let's go back to Joseph. And that's like 22 years that went past, And you would think that at some point they would say, Daddy, now I know this is not right. But Joseph, we sold him into slavery. And, I don't know how we're going to go about getting him back. No, they ain't say that. These Negroes was taking us to their grave, and as fate would have it, there's a famine. There is a famine. Everybody's hungry. Everybody's perishing. The cupboards are bare in the store. Jewels don't have nothing on the shelf. Marathon, they don't have no honey buns. All these alleged produce gone. And yes, this is the ghetto version. I know you're going to let me. And, now they're like, y'all gonna have to go across the way and get some food. Like, that's, we're hungry. Don't you see Pops? Don't you see Daddy over here? He's not doing well. Y'all gonna have to go across the way to get the food. So they do this. Now, the dreamer, the slave man, the inmate because Joseph had favor. God had his hand on him wherever he went. So in the midst of a famine, God gave Joseph strategy. He out here doing his thug thizzle, and he don't have just enough for him, but he got enough for everybody to eat. He done stored up grains and barleys. So, they go and get some food. And, Joseph knew right away that those were his brothers. They didn't recognize him right away. And once they did, they gasped. I could picture them in my face. Like when I read the Bible or when I'm listening to the Bible, like it's literally a movie for me. I can see everything in my head so clearly. So, they gasped. What's going to happen? Is he going to tell on us? Is he going to kill us? There's always this weird energy when you're around people that know that they've been talking about you. And it's weird because they don't know how much you know. And I ain't telling you how much I know. Just know that I know, and it's okay. Okay? It's no big deal. I got it. So, they look or whatever, and Joseph still has that heart that he always had. 22 years, slavery, jail for things that he didn't even do. And he said, Genesis 50:20, as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for my good, to bring it about that many shall live as they are today. That literally makes me want to shout, take my shoe off and throw it across the room. Because not only was he saying, I forgive you, but I see why God allowed for it to happen. And that betrayal was a blessing because it was bigger than just me. And I'm like, God, that heart that you gave Joseph, do it to me. Give me that heart. That's how I want to behave. That's how I want my heart to be postured. So that when and if a person that tried to finish me needs me to reach my hand back and help them, that I have enough God in me, enough humility, enough grace in me that I can reach back, that I don't want to repay evil with evil. Talk about a happy ending. So I just love the Bible because there's always somebody in there that you can relate to. Whatever situation you have going on, there's always somebody in that Bible that can give you an answer to your problems. So for me, a couple months back when I was declaring war and screaming that I want my lick back and this don't make sense and it ain't fair and I ain't doing this and that again, I don't feel like that no more. I don't. I'm like, for people that has loved me, that has been supportive, that has not rushed me in my process to, find my way, I thank you. Like, I appreciate you all, and I know you know who you are. Thank you. And for those of you that use your mouth to be malicious and slanderous and mean, thank you too. I needed that. I needed to refocus. I needed to withdraw. I needed to spend some time at the feet of my Father, and I don't know if I would have thought to do it had it not been for that betrayal. So that was necessary. And that betrayal was a blessing because my name has been ringing so much lately that people that probably wasn't interested in me, that didn't even know I existed, now they're like, well, let me go look on Sis' Facebook page. Let me see what Sis got going on. Let me click on the podcast to see what she's talking about. When I tell you that the downloads on the podcast have skyrocketed since I'm trending, thank you. Thank you. Like sometimes Man, God is good. It is just a matter of perspective. You meant it for evil. You tried to finish me. And God is in here consecrating, refining, and filling me up. Like, come on. Come on. I'm going to do a victory lap around this house. God is a good father. And because I kept saying, fight this battle for me. Because I just don't understand this. He like, I got it. Take a chill pill. You rest. Listen to me. Every single thing that I walked away from, he replaced it within weeks. No toiling, no begging, no struggling, no asking, no nothing. God will provide. He will. God will heal. He restores. You just got to give him the room to do it. And I feel like if I had not gotten out of my own way, I would not be able to bask in this glory that I'm in right now. I mean, I recommend everybody do it because it is a fun place. It is a fun place to be, you know. And I mean, my goodness, you know, peace has always been important to me. But when you're robbed of it, it has a even greater value, and I'm more protective of my peace at this phase of my life than I ever have been before. So that is all that I have for you wonderful people. Make sure that you all download, hit the plus sign on whichever is your favorite way to listen to the episodes. And guys, we're doing a really, really good job. When you guys leave reviews, actually rate them and then leave comments, that helps the algorithm. And honestly, I thank you all because we are doing a very good job. But it does, it helps other people that would benefit from these kind of episodes and topics to be able to hear and know that they are available. And I'm just encouraging anybody that is in a hard place or I feel like they were in a wilderness. What was after the wilderness? The promised land. That promised land, you ain't being punished. It ain't because you ain't did no sin that caused this. God is getting your spiritual muscles together because he needs to use you and you're going to have to be able to withstand some things. So you are literally in the gym. That's how you have to see it. So I will talk to you beauties soon. Until next time, I am out.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Ripped, Rattled, and Rose, the place where we have authentic conversations on mental health, womanhood, sisterhood, and purpose. As always, I'm your host, Rose, and I appreciate both your love and support, so I like to stay connected. We can do this by following me on Facebook and Instagram, both titled Rip, Rattle, and Rose. And also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel titled, wait for it, Ripped, Rattled, and Rose. I'd like to know your thoughts on this episode. And if there's any other topics that you'd like for me to discuss, these are the best places to communicate that to me. Until next time, please take care of yourself and love on one another.